Your Halloween village needs an open, freshly dug grave with a light shining from the underworld, and of course the grave digger's shovel. I crafted all of this and it was really easy. I'll break down all the steps so that you can do this at your house. This is Blackcatcrafts, a channel dedicated to Halloween crafts to personalize your village. Our goal will be to create this beautiful addition to the platform we made in the last episode. So we took that platform and amplified it. As a refresher from the last video, we used spray paint and pink foam to make the platform. So check out the details on that video. Once you've got a completed platform, you can move on to step 1. I used a headstone I already had and a marker to make a tracing of exactly where I wanted to cut out the foam. Once you have the marker exactly where you want it, the grave is the right size, then you'll want to cut it out. I personally like to use a sharp box cutter. I don't really like the smell of melting foam. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it works great if you don't mind that, if you've got a well-ventilated space. But for me, I'm very sensitive, so I prefer the knives. So go ahead and carve out your foam. You'll want to make sure that the grave that you're digging goes all the way to the bottom of the piece. You can see the platform rocking a little bit. That's on purpose. This is not attached yet because I need to get the lights in one of the final steps. So having it separate so I can feed the electrical under is essential to the success for this project. And it keeps it easy. That's one of the goals, to do this quickly and easily without cutting a finger off. So with this step, I am getting the foam that I don't need out of the grave. I'm not being very neat or tidy with the sides, and that is deliberate. A, because it's easy, and B, because this is a freshly dug grave. So the sides being a little bit rough add to some authenticity, and I really like that look. Step 2, you'll want to paint your freshly dug grave. I used a basic, cheap black paint and just quickly did the inside with a large brush. Step 3, and there it is in place. While you're waiting for the paint to dry, hop on your laptop and grab an image of a shovel from the free image archive. I made mine about 2 inches tall. And you'll need the two to be exactly the same size, one for the front and one for the back. I cut the ends off of a standard toothpick, and I cut the handle off of the shovel, leaving a little bit on each end. Using a basic glue stick, this one actually looks purple, so you can see the glue on camera. And I'm simply going to glue it together. Now the end product will have this actually being attached to the pile of dirt, so you'll need enough glue for it to be stable, but not so much glue that it would make it real soft or wrinkle or tear. That's why the glue stick is really ideal for this particular project. This is a bonus step. I've got the 2 pieces glued together and pressed onto the toothpick, and now I'm gently forming it into a curve so it is more like a traditional shovel. Looks good without it, but you can easily do that extra step while the glue is still wet. Repeat the process with the handle. I personally found it easier to glue it together, glue it onto the shovel, and then cut the hole out for the handle after everything was dry. If you want to do it beforehand, it's probably going to work too. It's just so small that this was a choice for me that I thought might help make it all very easy. There you have it, folks. Your shovel. It looks absolutely fantastic. This is going to be a great addition to the pile of dirt next to the freshly dug grave. So let's talk step 4. I use Mod Podge for this part of the project. So we are going to add some sand, some colored sand to the Mod Podge. There is also that black paint. It was actually left over from when I painted the insides, so that is still wet. I wanted to cover everything really, really well, so the paint added to it. You could also use brown if that's your preference. I personally like the black. It was a stylistic choice for me. Once you've got it in there, I just simply use an old, very beat up old brush, oldie but goodie, and I mix it together. It does start to look a little gray at this point because the Mod Podge is white. That particular Mod Podge dries clear, so as you saw on the final product, it doesn't look gray, it does look black with the punch of the gray stones floating on top. We have a runny mix. That's essential for the next step. I did do an optional amount of burnt umber just to add a little extra depth, some change. I'm not mixing it fully. I'm actually just using the brush to chop or stab and then do a folding motion, like I'm batter for a cake. On purpose. I did not want it to be homogeneous. I wanted it to have different colors in different spots. And then sprinkling on a little extra sand on the very top. So here's the next step. So I am crumpling up a piece of paper to act as the base for the pile of dirt next to the open grave. This helps minimize the amount of sand, Mod Podge, paint mixture that's next to the grave and gets you done faster. Could you do it without? Yes, you might have to do several layers of the sand Mod Podge mix to get the height, the drama that this particular trick adds. So now we'll want to start covering up everything with the sand mixture. I start with a thin coat of the Mod Podge, sand, and paint mixture, and I put it all around the edge. This gives us a base to begin the process with. It also glues down the piece of paper. Now that piece of paper is a piece of junk mail that I'm not using. It could be a shortcut to use a black piece of construction paper if you happen to have it around. But it's not really essential. I'm starting to drip the Mod Podge sand mixture on all sides of the paper, and I'll continue to do so until it's completely covered. There you see there is a bit of a drip going down the grave. That's perfect. I didn't want to do too many drips, but this is an open grave, so having that texture inside is perfectly on theme for this particular project. So as I go through adding layer upon layer of the sand mixture, I do get it inside. I don't put it all the way down to the bottom because I wanted it to be dark the lower you get in the grave. But I'm not very particular about a perfect line where things change. I wanted it to look spooky, but also very organic, like a regular hole in the ground might be. They don't have perfect lines always, and there is a little bit of dirt that slides back in. With this step in the process, I'm really happy with the layers of Mod Podge, sand, and paint. But I wanted to add a little bit more to it. So this is just a little bit more of the sand that you saw earlier in the video, and I'm sprinkling it on top. As the Mod Podge and paint dries, it will dry more clear, and you do see the beautiful look of that sand through there. Of course, I go back and get that, that's a dog hair. It's one of the dangers of having pets. While we let this dry, let's move on to step 5. We're going to make the lights to light the underside of the grave. I grabbed a cheap set of lights from the dollar store and wadded them up. So it's not real easy to see all lit up, but what I did was I took hot glue and hot glued a bunch of them together, roughly the size of the grave. Now remember, this platform is not attached yet, so I'm very easily able to slide that lump of lights underneath the grave, leaving the remaining wire and the battery box hanging down so I can turn it on and off. So it's starting to look really cool at this point. The Mod Podge is drying, the paint is drying, the sand is really looking good. Liking this a lot. So let's move on to step 6. This is the final step in the project. Remember that shovel? And I borrowed my friend, the witch, with the broken wand to help us out. As you can see, it's a great size for her. Just a little bit tall, so she can get leverage as she digs the grave, right? Yeah. To attach the shovel to the pile of dirt next to the grave, I just used a drop of hot glue and borrowed the witch to help hold on to it while it dried. So there you have it, quick and easy. It's a way to add just a little extra drama to your cemetery, that open, freshly dug grave with a light. What a fun project. I'm really glad that you came and joined me today. I hope you check out my channel. It's full of ways to personalize your Halloween village, everything from carnivorous plants to dollar store snakes with eyes that light up, to more complex dioramas, including multi-story layouts. Thanks for stopping by Blackcatcrafts. I hope you give me a like and make some comments about projects you'd like to see. I'd love to hear your ideas.